after the last general election, one of the bones of contention during the coalition talks between the Conservatives and the Lib Dems was whether or not local authorities should have a right of veto over the establishment of free schools in their boroughs. The Lib Dems wanted them to have that, the Conservatives didn't. And the Conservatives won the day. And from a policy point of view, local authorities don't have a right of veto over the setup of free schools. But actually, for all practical purposes, they do. It doesn't actually matter what ministers in the department say. If you try and set up a free school in the teeth of opposition to your local authority, you're going to get nowhere. And this was a lesson that we learnt at a fairly early stage. It's only because the local authority we're working with at the moment, Hammersmith and Fulham, have been fairly cooperative that we've got as far as we have. There are various things free schools can do to win over different stakeholders within their communities. They can consult with them properly before establishing themselves. I think that's going to be a big bone of contention. I think a lot of people have misunderstood just what the obligations are on free schools to consult with their local communities. And I think a lot of stakeholders imagine that it's just a kind of cynical rubber stamping process, when in fact it is real, but it also needs to be seen to be real. And we've gone to great lengths to consult with all the stakeholders, take their feedback on board, and we've actually adapted quite a few of the characteristics of our school in response to our consultation. We changed our admissions policy, for instance, after feedback from the local authority. So I think that's very important. I think creating partnerships with other groups and other institutions within the community is also important. We're hoping to establish a partnership with the Lyric Hammersmith, which is a local theatre. Also creating partnerships with other schools. We're hoping to create a partnership with the London Oratory School, which is another school in Hammersmith and Fulham. I think there's an opportunity for pupil exchanges. If we're offering a subject such as Latin, which isn't available at one of the local community schools, then maybe some of their pupils can come to our school, and some of our pupils can go to their school to do subjects which aren't offered by our school, and in that way we can have a kind of wider curriculum offer. I think it's very important to have a good relationship with our local authority. I think free schools which don't have good relationships with their local authorities, first of all, they're not going to get to first base, but even if they do, they're not going to last very long. I think there are just so many ways in which local authorities can make your lives difficult, and you know they are the experts. They've been at this a lot longer than most free school proposer groups have. You really need to get them on side, because if they want to make your lives a misery, they can. And I guess one concern for us is what happens when the political control of our local authority switches from blue to red. If it switches from blue to red, how will we cope with a much more politically hostile political leadership within our local authority? And so for us, I think it's important, once the school's established, to try and win over the other political parties locally, the Lib Dems and the Labour group, and that'll be a big task for us. It may seem like this policy may seem like an attempt to wrest control from local authorities over taxpayer-funded education, and that may have been part of the intention, and that's certainly a big part of the government's rhetoric. But in reality, control still rests with local authorities, so they shouldn't be frightened, I don't think, about working with free school proposer groups. It won't be long before they're eating out of your hands.